Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us here for KREM 2 News First at 4. I'm Whitney Ward. If you needed any more reminders that it is finally spring, there are two major road construction projects beginning this week, and we have team coverage on the impacts of those shutdowns. Janelle Finch is live near Thor Freya, but first we turn to Ian Smay, who is covering just how bus routes are now being impacted by yet another road project. Hi, Ian.
Hey Whitney, I am here near the Hatch Road bridge that connects the South Hill to Highway 195. Starting tomorrow, the bridge will be closed for at least 4 months as crews work to replace the bridge deck. The bridge isn't expected to reopen until at least August, and this comes as the bridge has been shifting under heavy vehicle loads. The Spokane Public Schools District said about 18 routes to 5 different schools will have to be changed. Those schools are Lewis and Clark High School, Sacagawea Middle School, Roosevelt and Mullen Road Elementary Schools, and the Libby Center. The district's chief operations officer said students will still be able to ride the bus. It will just have to take a different route.
It's going to change the stops and the pickup times, and so those slight adjustments depending on the route, and that's part of what the communication is out to students and families so they know what those changes are.
Jordan said the routes will likely use 195 to go north up to I-90, which will then see the buses use one of the first 3 exits to get to those schools. Coming up at 6 o'clock tonight, I'll have more from the district on what they said this could have an impact on how your child gets to school every day. Reporting from Hatch Road, Ian Smay, KREM 2 News.
All right, Ian, thank you very much. And today, also the first day of construction on Thor and Freya. Phase 1 of a 7-phase project closed the Thor Freya eastbound exit ramp, and it's going to stay closed through at least mid-June. KREM 2's Janelle Finch is live now to share drivers' reactions to this first day of road work. Hi, Janelle.
Hi Whitney, I am live at Freya and Hartston, where as you can take a look behind me, South Hill drivers are running into a little bit of traffic. That's because the traffic on Freya is closed down to 1 lane now. You can see it's just a lot of stop and go traffic. Moving very, very slowly. Over the next 8 months, crews will be rebuilding Thor and Freya with concrete to better handle traffic and making other road improvements. Today, drivers were met with backed up traffic as Freya merged into 1 lane. For South Hill drivers, Thor and Freya are access points to downtown and I-90. Now, until the end of November, navigating those streets may take longer than usual. Today, drivers turning onto Freya were slowed down by stop-and-go traffic. Construction merged drivers into 1 lane heading north. One driver says the traffic turned his quick trip to a coffee shop into a longer ride.
I was like, oh wow, it was like supposed to be like a 30-second quick little drive over here, and I was like, okay, I guess I'm gonna hang out in traffic for a couple minutes, and definitely a little hectic. It reminded me of Seattle, like that kind of level of traffic.
Another driver says she'll be using Regal more often to get down the hill, but knows construction could eventually back up there too. The City of Spokane's communication manager says she's already heard businesses are seeing more traffic from drivers using alternate routes. The city is encouraging drivers to be flexible with road changes. She says 32 traffic plans were created for this $8 million project. Drivers will eventually see Thor Freya westbound exit close and Thor and Freya operating as 2-way streets to allow for crews to work on each road. Earlier today, when I drove down Freya to 2nd Avenue, traffic did move slow. Around 11 a.m., it took me about 5 minutes to get from this point all the way into 2nd Avenue. Cars began to back up, most here at this intersection. At 5, I'll be back live with more information on what this looks like during your evening commute. In Spokane, Janelle Finch, KREM 2 News.
It's going to be an interesting rush hour. Thank you very much, Janelle. And for a detailed look at the city's maps for those projects and a little help to navigate the construction zones, just text the word roads to 509-448-2000. We'll send a link right to your phone. So yes, Spokane is definitely growing, and we are tracking the impact of all that growth in our ongoing Boomtown series. Tonight, we are focusing on the renovation of the historic McKinley School in the Sprague Union District. Renovations to the building have been at a standstill now for about 6 years, but perhaps now we could finally begin to see some construction start again this year. Tonight, Spokane City Council is approving a 12-year multifamily housing property tax exemption for that property. It's a tool the city uses to attract developers to build more housing units in Spokane. According to the city, the McKenna Apartments will include 22 units in 4 buildings under that 12-year exemption agreement. 20% of the units must be set aside as affordable units, which are made available to lower and moderate income tenants. Councilmember Michael Cathcart says this project will help address the city's need for more housing.
88 units, 20% affordable, for sub-market rate. I mean, I think this is a great addition to that neighborhood, and it's going to be right there, right off of Sprague, where there's lots of amenities and services, and hopefully, more coming online.
Cathcart does admit that bureaucracy slowed down the progress on that project, but wants to change that. In the meantime, building permits are indicating construction will begin as early as this coming fall. All right, as people were out and about today, they probably enjoyed the sunshine. It certainly was a pretty afternoon and very warm as well. Jeremy was talking a little bit about thunderstorms yesterday, but Jeremy, it sounds like those are going to kind of miss us. So another great evening, right?
Yeah, it's going to be absolutely beautiful. But Whitney, I really wanted some of those thunderstorms.
I know, you did.
I was just being selfish with that desire to hear a rumble of thunder. As a meteorologist, it's kind of one of the things we really look forward to. But look at it out there. You can see the sun shining on the clock tower, and that sun has done a great job of keeping us nice and warm today. Another day in the mid 60s. Keep in mind, average temperature this time of year is supposed to be in the low 50s. And so we are warm, not just here, but across much of the inland Northwest. 60s in Coeur d'Alene, close to it in Sandpoint, and up near 70 in Wenatchee and Moses Lake. We do have a couple of those showers, but as Whitney mentioned, narrow miss. A couple of light sprinkles are about what you're going to get. And if we put it in motion, notice there is a little sweep of a little more moisture moving through. That'll be later on this evening, but by then we lose a lot of that daytime heating and energy. A bulk of that activity is down in the southern Idaho panhandle and stays that way. Eventually things clear out, and tomorrow looking very sunny and nice. So as things clear out tonight, temperatures do drop into the upper 30s, but don't worry, by tomorrow afternoon we are once again back up in the 60s in the inland Northwest.
Sounds good, Jeremy. Thank you very much. Well, the Cougs are headed to Madison Square Garden for the NIT. Coming up after the break, we talked to the basketball's head coach ahead of the big game there in New York City.
Thank you. Hoping Academy invites me back.
Will Smith outstaging himself when he slapped Chris Rock on stage last night. We're going to hear reactions, plus go back and see a little bit of the history between those two to find out what in the world happened.